Okay, before I get into anything serious, I need to ask a question, okay? It may be because I'm just a Fate fan, a Nasuverse fan, but when I saw Celestia just go in, and she had her transformation, and she had this, like, big fire strike, all I could think of and say out loud, I actually legit said it out loud, I said, Excalibur! That's exactly what I said, soon as I saw that scene. I'm like, that's straight up fucking Saber. It even looks like Saber. Like, the way the move was done, the way it's from the side and all that, the way it looks, the impact and all that, it looked like something you would see from Saber when she uses Excalibur. So, I was like, look, I know that this series is obviously referencing other main characters from other games, anime, or whatever. I mean, look, Mamika's basically Madoka. Well, she's dead now, but basically Mamika is a Madoka. So, a lot of characters reference some certain things, and I feel like just that scene was referencing Saber in general, just referencing her famous move, and I was like, that's pretty badass. Now, like, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's what it reminded me of when I watched that scene, and if you're gonna remind me of Fate, you're doing some good work, because I love Fate. So, anyways, with that being said, let us talk about the serious stuff. So, okay, so where to begin, okay, let's talk about Yuya and Magane, okay? Yuya and Magane's, fight, okay? Because that's a very quick point of the episode, and I think I can cover that rather quickly before I get into the other stuff. So, Yuya, once again, he's trolled by Magane, which, oh my god, like, at this point, I feel so bad for Yuya, because his character is not good against someone like Magane, because Magane is the type of character that's good with manipulating people through words, while Yuya, you can see because of how he fights and probably what, he was from, most likely he's used to always speaking or just saying things out loud, since he looks like a delinquent. So, his matchup with Magane is very unbalanced. It's really unbalanced, because this poor man really, I feel so bad, because he was trolled so hard. I mean, he was really trolled. She stole his ability. That's kind of fucked. And it also showcases how powerful Magane could become because of her abilities. She legit just stole an ability from someone. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Like, we cannot overlook Magane's character in terms of power right now. For her just to be someone that can manipulate people with words, for her to be able to steal someone's power, that's scary. Because imagine what she could do to our mech, like, our Shinji. I just imagine. Imagine if she's like, that mech is mine. Think about it. So, it's crazy how powerful she is and how she was able to troll him that far, and he got wrecked. The man got wrecked. Most likely there's going to be a rematch in the future. Like, I sense a rematch. I definitely see Yuya going back in and getting very pissed off. Like, this man is just done. I could see him just getting his revenge against Magane because of what she just did to him in this episode. Because he's already been trolled twice in a row now. Last week's episode and this episode, this poor man for a final boss, he's getting kind of fucked over. Like, holy shit. I mean, that would suck, dude. Like, you're the final boss of your story, and then you're fucked over like that. Like, you're just straight up, like, messed up from this other, writer's, villain. That probably is a low blow. Like, that probably would piss you off a little bit. So, yeah, that's pretty funny. And it's hilarious seeing, like, a villain beat a villain. Because normally when you play games or something, you think of that. Like, okay, when I think of villains, like, let's just think of Sephiroth, okay? I want to think of the recent villains. It just always comes to mind. Like, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, or, let's think of, the Lich King Arthas, from World of Warcraft, or Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. Basically, these are some of my favorite villains, and regardless of who wins, I've always wanted to have, like, a fan fight between them, just to see who would win. If they were, like, in the ring with each other, trying to go at each other, using their abilities, I'm just very curious who would win. I mean, it's probably not a fair fight at all. I'm throwing it out there. I feel like many watchers of this series will probably think the same way as I do. For instance, holy crap, like, this is something I thought of, seeing, like, villains going up against each other, seeing who's the better in-game villain, and that really adds a whole new layer to this series. I like how the writers of this are really going one step ahead and just adding things that really get you thinking. Like I said, what happens when the story ends? Or, you know, a character that is, you know, removed from its story is no longer bound by the writer. They no longer have strings attached to them and their actions are controlled. They're able to do whatever they want, and new parts of the character pop out. There's just so many things that this series has done. It makes you think about what would happen if a character was to come out of a book or something, or an anime or whatever, what would happen? And I like the way this series constantly has me thinking about that. It has me thinking like, holy crap, how would some of these characters I read from certain series would act if they were in our world? And it really adds more to this series, and it makes me enjoy it more when I think about stuff like this. Like, let's think about Alice's character for a second, okay? So, Alice's character, I know many, and myself included, think she's kind of stupid, and she's very naive in a way, and she's easily fooled. But she's like that typical character in a fantasy, a dark fantasy, where she's all about fighting people. She's all about fighting monsters and creatures that are demonic and all of that. And she's very one-dimensional as a character. And so she was never given that proper development or characterization through her story. And so she wasn't able to be as smart as maybe other characters are in another dark fantasy. Like, for instance, Guts. Like, I think now thinking about it, if Guts was to come to our world, you'd probably be very pissed off. Oh yes, that man would want some fucking blood. But I feel like since Guts is such a smart character, I don't think his actions would be very predictable because of who he is. And it really makes you think. Like, a character like Alice, since she's in, like, a dark fantasy, she's very one-dimensional. You can clearly see she wasn't written properly, and she's not used to coming face-to-face with these type of things. For instance, what she's going with Meteora and also Celestia and all that, you can see she's not really used to this at all. And she was very conflicted in this episode. You could see it on her face. I don't know if it was more of her realizing she's wrong, or she was just depressed because she just fucked up so hard that she can't really take it back. And you gotta remember these type of characters and what they do. Normally, characters that are knights or whatever, because she says she's a knight multiple times throughout this episode, normally knight characters, they want to die in combat. Even if they are wrong, and they know they're wrong, and they're serving the wrong side or whatever, they normally want to die in glorious combat. You know, trial by combat, whatever title you want to throw on there. They want to die in combat. That's kind of like their honor code. And her still fighting, even if she realizes she's wrong, fits with that type of character. Because I think we can all agree, we've read a lot of manga, watched a lot of anime, and we've probably seen a lot of knights in other shows. Knights, usually they want to die in battle. And that would fit with her character. Even if she knows she's wrong, she would continue to fight regardless. So it just shows the flaws in her character popping out throughout this episode. And it's not flaws in the writing of Recreators, it's just flaws in her character as a character that was written within Recreators. Hopefully you understand what I'm getting at. So, this series just continues to surprise me with some of its things. It's very, very meta. It really is. I mean, many like to throw around that word and say that, but the more I hear people talk about that, and the more I see this series, I have to agree. It really just blows me away with how some of these scenes are handled, especially with the fighting scene and all that. And one thing, too, I want to mention is that, Sota's character, I'm still kind of pissed with him because he's not revealing the truth. I am. But I can kind of accept it a little bit more thanks to the previous episodes because of the clarification to why he doesn't want to say anything. It still annoys me to no end. Like, oh my god, like, oh, I'm still annoyed by his character. But it's a little bit more understandable. So, just the way the series is going, it's very enjoyable. It's definitely smart with some of its writing elements, the way it's using some of these things and even these cliches, because it's actually understandable why some of these cliches are there. So, I like this series. I'm really glad I'm continuing to watch this series. It's a very fun watch every single Saturday, and it was another great episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.